So basically for the intro, like I said, it's cold open. So basically, I'm not gonna set you up like, hi, welcome to my favorite game and stuff like that. Yada yada yada. Yeah, it's just basically cold open. So I basically ask X, what is your favorite game? They respond, my favorite game is Y. So in this case, I'd ask Charleyy Hodson, what is your favorite game? You respond, my favorite game is The Sims.
It's Leisure Suit Larry. I've changed it.
You're gonna say that, aren't you?
No, I promise I won't. I'll behave. It's obviously the real answer, but I'll behave and say my other one, my PC one.
Charleyy Hodson, what is your favorite game?
My favorite game is The Sims.
Thank God.
No, it's Leisure Suit Larry. I take it back. There's a gun to my head.
Oh, dude, that would have been a fun show if you actually said Leisure Suit Larry. That actually would be fun.
I just go with
Right.
it. I haven't played the game at all, but I just do the entire podcast just trying to explain like I've played it and see if I can convince you.
Just wing it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a guy called Larry. I think you're getting his suit. I don't know. I think I've lost it already.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I started playing games. Interestingly, it wasn't in the house. I remember going to a friend's of mine, and he would have, I think it was a PlayStation, I want to say a PlayStation 1, and he would have Tekken, and there was another game, Streets of Rage he'd have, and every time I'd go over, it started off, we were always outside skateboarding, and then we were inside watching TV, and then we ended up, playing on the PlayStation all the time. And then I think my parents sort of picked up this vibe that I'd only want to go over there and play on the PlayStation. And so they got me a console at home, and we got our first gaming console being the PlayStation. And then what did I have on there? I had Jumping Flash, which to this day, I remember speaking to people and they didn't really know what the game was. And I believe it was added.
Yeah, at this point.
It was added to the classics that they recently did. And I was like, mate, Jumping Flash was on the list. It got remastered. Amazing. Well, I think it was remastered either way. I remember having that and Spyro, which, fun fact, I'll go off on a tangent here. I've never finished Spyro because I remember playing it when I was younger and we did an all-nighter. And, well, thank God we have wireless controllers here in the future, because back in the day, we were on the last mission of Skyrim. My friend got out of bed. It was 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wait, Skyrim?
No, not Skyrim, Spyro. God, no, we're not time travelers, I promise. It was Spyro. Either way, we were on the last mission of Spyro, and he got off the bed and he went across the room and he tripped over the PlayStation controller cable, pulled the PlayStation out the wall, and I didn't have a memory card, so we couldn't save it, and we just tried to play it in one playthrough, and it didn't work. So that's my earliest feeling of gamer pain. I know, it's horrible. It's not funny, stop laughing at me.
I'm not laughing, I'm just legitimately in pain just hearing that.
I know, it was terrible, but it's clearly it stuck with me. It was a really fun memory because up until that point we'd stayed up all night playing it, and whenever we got stuck we'd take it in turns. I couldn't tell you what the game's about aside from dragons and the crystal dragon things, but I remember just gluing with me that idea of playing it with friends and the replayability and getting stories done. And then as I got a little bit older, the next console I got was a Game Boy Color, and I was pretty mad on Pokemon Red. I've only ever owned and played Pokemon Red, out of the whole franchise. And my next Nintendo console after that was actually the Switch, where I played Pokemon Eevee with my daughter. So there's a huge gap in my Pokemon knowledge there. But yeah, after that, we just moved it to the PlayStation. And that was not the PlayStation, mate. I can't talk. It was the Xbox. And that's when things got legit, was when the Xbox came along for me.
What sort of defined your Xbox experience at the time, anyway?
Fusion Frenzy, mate. That was it, all day, Fusion Frenzy. No, it's a really weird one, because it was the 360, so we didn't even have the original console. We got the 360. Fusion Frenzy, I obviously do remember. But the first big game I can remember playing and finishing and investing loads of my time on was Fable 2. That was the one for me. I remember playing a little bit of Halo back in the day, but it was mostly just trying to get the warthog stuck in the door during the campaign, but that was it.
Fable 2, though, like, that is...
The size says it all. The size says it all. Wait,
it does. It
what
really does.
did you choose at the end? Can we continue this conversation? What did you pick at the end?
Funny enough, I never finished Fable 2, but I was so close to the end.
Right, we've both got homework. You need to finish Fable 2 and I need to finish Spyro.
Okay. Yes, miss. I'll get that homework to you.
Okay, what we will do is pick up this conversation when you have finished it, because I don't want to influence you, but you should know by now, hopefully, that there is a fairly significant decision at the end of Fable 2.
That I do know.
Okay,
do know at least.
Good. I won't say anything else, though. You got to figure that bit out.
I will figure that bit out and see what goes from there. But like, it's gonna be. I don't know what to expect from it.
I'll tell you what you can like.
I do because I know something happens, but.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. I can tell you that the things I remember about Fable that I really loved. I remember gathering in Bowerstone Market, having a million wives and many, many children, and dancing in the middle of the square, and all the townsfolk coming around to see me and celebrating and clapping and dancing, and then me turning the safety button off and fire burning them all to death. So that was interesting. And I also remember there's a bit in the game. I don't think this is a spoiler, so I will press ahead, but shout if you want me to stop. There's a bit in the game where, regardless of the sort of character and the choices that you make to be either the good or the evil side, you end up in prison. And annoyingly, I think I made a couple bad decisions in prison, because my character went from really good and ethereal and beautiful and everyone loved her to she came out the other end and she was bold, she was veiny, she had horns like the devil, and I was like, I'm just gonna roll with this character now. So yeah, I was just completely like entranced by the game and all the voices. I think that was the game for me that went, games are more than just, you know, entertainment. You put them on, like there can be an emotional connection, you can get really invested in stories. So yeah, I'm not sure if that influenced me in, you know, my later choices in the gaming industry or to pick up other titles, but I remember that being a pretty significant game for me.
And I will say as well, Fable 2, like a lot of my time in Fable 2, I'm like, straight up spoilers for later on in the season, Fable is a game that will be a main episode in this coming season, albeit it's not Fable 2. But what defines Fable for me is that sort of wholesome. I don't know if I'd say. Well, do I call it wholesome? I don't know, but I'd call that sort of British charm to it.
Yes, yeah, it's like a whimsy to it.
Yes,
100%.
Yes, that's it, and especially when playing with a playing in co-op with a friend or something, it was just legitimately, you could get up to so much chaos and stuff. It was just like, yeah. I think us talking about Fable 2 again has me really itching to play it again.
And you need to get it out the way with the new Fable, you know, having been announced by Xbox last year, you know it's on the way, so something to work to.
Oh,
I'm so sorry, I've just added some workload to you, haven't I?
Playground and Fable. I'm so excited.
It's going to be so good.
I could talk about how amazing Playground is all day, but...
Mate, my second game for what I was potentially going to say was my favourite game of all time was a Playground game. I was going to say Forza Horizon, but I didn't in the end, for reasons I'd happily mention towards the end of the podcast. For, you know, spoiler reasons, it will get an honourable mention from me for sure.
Fair enough. So we'll get to that at the end.
Yes, that's coming. Make sure you stick around to this podcast where Charley spoils some more honourable mentions. Wait. So it's actually really bizarre, and my other half says that no one should follow my lead in terms of getting a job that you love, because I don't live in the real world, and here's for why. So I was at university. I was studying multimedia journalism, and in the first year of university, I found out I was pregnant. So I left university. I deferred my course for a year so I could have my lovely daughter, who is turning 9 in a few months. She's called Scarlett, and she is absolutely wonderful. And I went back the summer after I had her, and I swapped onto English as I realized that journalism wasn't really my thing. And the only reason I took it was because I wanted to be a video game journalist. And one of the first things I did, later down this story when I moved to London, is I applied for Video Gamer, because I desperately wanted to work with them, because I was obsessed with their YouTube channel and the whole bunch of them. So either way, I stuck to English. I did a couple years there. I came out with a really good degree, and I thought, you know what, maybe gaming is just a hobby. So I went to train to become a teacher. And I did that for 2 months before going, I hate this, I can't do it. And I left immediately, and I'm still paying the student finance for the 2 months I went on that course. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Government.
Oh my god, how much was it? Just out of curiosity.
It was a full year's course, so it would have been what, $9,000, and I did 2 months of it, and that was added on top of my other degree that I'm also paying off. So yeah, that's a fun thing. But yeah, I left that, and then my other half had already moved. So I met him at university on the journalism degree. He'd graduated a year prior and had moved to London for a job doing journalism for a different company, and thought, you know what, I'm just going to apply to a bunch of jobs in London, see if I can just move up with him, and then I can sort of chart my course of where I want to go. And the first job I got, and I remember going to the interview, and they called me up to offer me the job on my train on the way home, which was such a lovely feeling. It was for Global Radio, who do like Capital, Heart, Radio X. And I worked with them on a website called Pop Buzz, which was also formerly known as We the Unicorns. Very weird name. None of us liked it. Where we would write about YouTubers, and they hired me because of my gaming expertise. So I spent maybe 2 years of my life writing quizzes about Zoella's dog, and how Tanya Burr had put something on Instagram that was a little bit racy, and honestly, it was just the weirdest years of my life. But what I did get to do was do lots of quizzes about Jacksepticeye, or back in the day when PewDiePie was on a mad one, doing anything and everything to upset everyone. That was me covering all of that on that website. And then I'd work closely with Capital, with Radio X, because they wanted to do more work in gaming. So whenever briefs came through to do advertisements with Xbox, they'd get me in the room to sort of be the expert in the room and to give them advice on, what Chris Moyles would say about X, Y, and Z to make the sponsorship work. And I was there for a few years, and it was all right. And it was it didn't really feel like a job, because, as I said, I was just watching YouTube in my free time. That is my source of entertainment, and then going to work and writing about them. But to make the story even weirder, and this is where my other half says I don't live in the real world, I got a random message on LinkedIn from a company called Edelman, who is a sort of like a PR company, and they have clients. And one of the clients they look after is Xbox UK. And they reached out to me and they said, hey, we've got a position to be a community manager at Xbox UK. Do you want the job? And I was like, are you sure this is real? I'm very interested. So I went along thinking it wasn't true whatsoever. And I remember going into London, and I sat down, and I actually legitimately met the Edelman Xbox UK team. And I remember saying this meeting, I was like, so if I get this job, do I get the passwords to like Xbox UK and everything? And they're like, yeah, you'll tweet every day. And I was like, oh my God, this is a job, and it's real, and I'm so close. And so I did a couple interview stages of just talking to people. And then I remember for my final stage, they contacted me to say I was on the final stage, and I had to prepare a presentation where I would basically pull apart their social media and say what I would do on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook to make it better, and design assets and everything. And they told me to do that while I was on a holiday at Disneyland with my daughter and my parents. So we'd go to Disneyland in the day at Paris, and then in bed until 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm writing this presentation about how to like fix Xbox UK's account. And then, well, I think we know where it goes from there. I did the presentation and I got the job. So that was it. I went from writing about YouTubers to doing community management at Xbox, which is a hell of a step. And I get asked most days on Twitter, how do I get a job in the games industry? And it's it's tough to explain because I've been very lucky, and I can only say, you know, put yourself in the right places. I had a LinkedIn that was up to date with a heavy focus on gaming. Make friends authentically. Don't get into like weird spaces where you're forcing a friendship because you want to have them on your Twitter friends or something. And just prove that you work hard and you care. I think there's you know, I won't say very many names. In fact, I'll say no names here. But I think there's very clear some individuals, particularly when it comes to streaming, Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, those people who have like 10 followers and they're already coming up with like partnership decks and why you should sponsor them. And it's like, well, you're making it clear from the off that you're in this for a business, and actually you're not here to sort of make friends and play games and start a community. So I always try to guide people away from doing that. But yeah, so I did my community management job for 3 to 4 years. I helped launch the Xbox One X. I went to E3 a couple years. I was sat underneath a stage by a bin when Keanu Reeves came out and called everyone in the room breathtaking even.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
And I was downstairs and he didn't say it to me and I just had to just live with it. Like, you got Graham Boyd sat nicely on the table leading everyone on what you should tweet out from the E3 show, and I'm just sat by a bin on the floor. But it was fun. That was an experience. I've done E3. I've presented Inside Xbox. I presented XO19 when it came to London. When the Microsoft store in London launched, I got to play Forza with John Boyega, which is wild. And all of these amazing things happen. And then the boss for my job at that point, which is a lovely lady called Lai Ling, who moved back to Australia to be with her other half and now actually works for Nintendo. Her job came up. I applied for it. And I got it. So now, for the past year, I have been the social media and events lead for Xbox UK and Ireland, whilst also maintaining my Xbox On hosting roles and stuff like that. And boy, has it been a very fun year to learn how to do events during a global pandemic. That's been real fun.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Well, the funny thing is that every other community manager and every other events lead has had to figure out what an event means during a pandemic. So I've just sort of joined that field. I've been with them step one, because I didn't have this job when there wasn't COVID-19 going around. So what I lack in public, like IRL events, I don't need to worry about, because I'm figuring out digital events with everyone else. So I'm quite lucky at the moment that when we can go back outside, I am behind the curve and I need to catch up.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, just a bit. But people are kind. I'm sure they'll help me out.
And also, just to go back slightly, I love how the fact you were so sort of excited to be handed the sort of passwords to all the social media channels. Like, as if you were being handed the keys to the nuclear arsenal, to the nuclear football.
Have you seen some of the crap we've put on those channels? Honestly, we've been told off for some of it, because what we like to do at Xbox UK is we could be quite wholesome and lovely and charming, but then we quite like to get a bit memey and edgelordy, and saying that out loud makes me feel like a bit of a douche. But it's true. We like to push some of the buttons and change the tone of voice that Xbox talks about things. And some of the best tweets we've ever done, I remember it was one E3, and we were in the Microsoft Center, and Nintendo had just done their presentation when then they announced that Fortnite had gone crossplay or something like that. So I just tweeted, I was with my boss at the time, and I said, do you mind if I send this tweet? And it was just, at Nintendo, want a duo later, or like want a Fortnite duos or something later. And I think to this day that got like 2 million reach or something, and everyone went crazy, because it's this sort of power that comes with not only being Xbox but being a verified channel is very overwhelming. I remember when I started that job, I was so anxious to do any tweets. I triple checked everything for spelling errors. If I even replied to someone saying I love you Xbox and I wanted to send like a green heart emoji, I would send an email to make sure it was fine. And by the end of it, I was just straight up sending Simpson memes to people, because I was like, yeah, I don't care, that makes sense on this channel now, I don't know anymore.
So if you want an idea of why Xbox UK has sort of gone the way it has, you know where
it's me, and there's a lovely guy called Adam Jenkins who's been on the account. I think it was about a year before I turned up or so. And I learn everything from him. I can't be, or at least I wouldn't be half the community manager I am today if it wasn't for him. So I have to give him credit, though he is... He is the most sort of like nihilistic, pessimistic dude in the world. So I'm the bubbly one that puts all the emojis on stuff and makes it a bit happier. If it wasn't for me, Adam would have taken it in a very different direction. And honestly, I would have loved to seen that alternate universe Xbox. Oh, it would have been good.
Let's talk of your favorite game then, The Sims. We have past experience talking of The Sims because, and we will get to this, because for those who come along to our dear little website, Play Diaries, you may remember Press Play episode we put out last year. Was it? Oh God, it was last year. I can't keep up with time anymore.
Time isn't a thing anymore. It's fine.
Time died the minute the pandemic kicked off.
It died back in March. We're just guessing at this point.
And now we are catching up on March.
Oh,
Jesus
don't.
Christ.
Oh, no.
One full year of this nightmare. We put out an episode of Press Play last year talking about being queer in the games industry. I was on it. I was hosting. Charley was on it, along with 4 other people as well. Else White, Ed Fear, other people as well. My mind is just completely gone. I'm sorry for the other.
It's goo. It's fine.
It's like brains are goo, especially in a pandemic. And basically, the very popular answer when it came to one of the games being discussed during the panel was The Sims. And we will touch upon this in more detail in a little bit. But basically, I am not surprised in light of that panel that The Sims was the pick that you went for, basically.
Yeah, so there are so many games that came into consideration for me. I think I, like very many other people, find it quite difficult to isolate one favorite game, because there are days when I wake up or I know I've got time to play a game where I don't want to play The Sims at all. It's not on my list of things to do at all, and I feel like I have different favorite games based on the mood I'm in, and I'm happy to share some of those with you. Again, stick around till the end of the podcast where I talk about them. But for me, the sort of constant of one of the games I've played literally since the beginning, I've got it on every platform I can go on. It's been with me for really significant moments in my life. It's just felt like it's the one game that's been with me before other titles sort of joined my list of favorite games. So what I mean, one of the things you mentioned on the panel about gaming and queerness is it took me very, very many years. I think I was in my 20s before I sort of came to terms with my own sexuality, which, for the sake of this podcast, if no one knows, I'm a proud bisexual woman. And it's when I look back on me playing Sims when I was younger and me realizing you can get 2 ladies to kiss or 2 boys to kiss, and me being like, oh, this is kind of cool, because that just wasn't a part of my day-to-day life. It certainly wasn't at school. I had no one in my family who was queer, and yet there was something in this game that said that's not only fine, but there's also 0 barriers to it, but there isn't going to be confetti and explosions, that it's different. It was just a part of modern life in that game. And I think, you know, as I got older, I think back and I'm like, yeah, maybe that's why I made so many lesbian characters. But yeah, I just remember that being really important. But then outside of the queerness and that sort of windows that opened for me and the things I was allowed to question about sexuality, I remember playing it a lot with my sister who does not play games in the slightest, but we would fight like hell over The Sims, to the point where my mum would get a sort of sand timer that you would turn over, and it was literally, it's my turn on The Sims, and then whenever you knew the hour was up, the sibling would come upstairs and be like, this is nearly finished now, get off the game, and then we'd have to swap turns, and I would make families for all my friends at school. I remember making, oh my god, I'm going to tell you something so embarrassing. The time in my life when I was obsessed with True Blood, the TV show True Blood, I made a restaurant in The Sims, ran by the flipping, what they called, the lineup, the top billing cast of True Blood. like Alexander Skarsgård was the chef, and like it's so stupid. And I loved it, and I did the gnome cheat, so they never got tired, and they just lived and worked 24/7 in this restaurant because I made it look really nice. What else? I remember doing relationships in there. Everyone's done that though. You're going out with someone, you make a relationship, you have babies. I just made the mistake of telling someone that I did that, and they thought it was a bit weird because we'd only been together for like a month at the time. But yeah, and then we go up to today, and I stream it. Well, I'm a variety streamer, so I can't say I stream it often. I try to stream it once every 2 weeks or once a month or something, and I'm currently doing the 100 Babies Challenge, which is going to take me about 5 years to do, but I love it. I'm having babies, and like chat is naming them all. We have some of the best names you could ever hear for children, Johnny. We have Wilma Dickfit. Do you want to blow me is another child. Huge erection is a bit of an obvious one. There was a really good one. Masturbates. What's the most recent one that we did that was really good? Oh no. Oh, Mr. Period. Just some of the best names you've ever heard for children. And I'm having so much fun, and I get so angsty and aggressive and like designing houses and figuring out how best to do this challenge. You are losing it. I could have stopped at Wilma Dickfit and just left. I also have another character called My Cunt as well, if you want to have that one for free.
Oh, fuck! No, right. No.
It's brilliant. She's called Mike. It's a female character called Mike. What's wrong with that? Mike, last name Hunt. I didn't say anything wrong there, did I?
I think I'm having a heart attack from the amount of laughter.
It's very fun.
Oh my god.
It just brings everyone together, and everyone tries to like outdo themselves. We had a kid that was just called Dovahkiin Fussrodar at some point. Last name Fussrodar.
Please say Tom Hard knows of that.
It's just brilliant, and I love it. And like whenever I do work or, you know, distract myself from work and I need something in the background, there's a ton of YouTubers on and Twitch streamers who I will just watch make houses, like Lil Simsy, Plumbella, to name a few, Delegracy, that I would just sort of, it's for me, it's like that sort of like ASMR lo-fi hip-hop. You like to have something on in the background because it's very, you know, calming. For me, that's just watching people build houses in The Sims. So yeah, that's why it's my favorite game. It's just a constant place for like chill, and I can just put some music on and relax. There's no difficulty curve. I could sort of expect sort of weird, crazy, random things to happen that are completely out of my control, and I just have to react to them. And whilst there are some issues with the game and some areas of quality of life that could use improving, and hopefully if we ever hear about Sims 5 that will be done, yeah, for me, for as long as I can remember, The Sims has been a positive experience, and has just been a game I've played, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, all of the expansion packs. When it was Sims 2 busted out on the Xbox, and that prick Malcolm Landgrab would come around and steal something from your fucking house. Honestly, you lived with the mum and he'd turn up and steal your scooter? What a prick. I need that. So yeah. Sounds like you've got a gripe with him as well.
I do. I fucking do. It's been at least, how long has it been? 17 years since I played that game on PlayStation 2.
That's the one.
Fuck him.
Fuck that dick.
All my homies hate him.
And the amazing thing now is, like, not to get too like work or like business heavy or anything like that, but the fact that EA Play was recently added to Game Pass means that now I can play Sims in the front room of my house on my Xbox Series X, and I just got to plug in a wireless mouse and keyboard. So I can now play Sims in any room of my house, which I do with my daughter. She has her own house and she has a cat, and it's brilliant. And I can just see that sort of love for the game passing on to my youngest, and it's just, yeah, it's brill. I love it.
It's a really generational thing when you put it like that.
Yeah, it really is.
Not necessarily just in The Sims itself, but I guess other games like it, I guess. Like, how do you find, what's your sort of concept of playing as God, let's say?
Ooh, that is a good question. And it's interesting you mention it, because some of the other games that I do really like playing do lean into that concept. And I was thinking of maybe saying the Civ series, you know, could be my favorite game, because I love that sort of top-down RTS, which very much, if you want to get really literal, while The Sims is a simulation game, it's also a real-time strategy game. It's just with real people and real lives, and it's closer to reality than it is fantasy. But I also love, one of my favorite games is a game called Banished, which I started playing because I saw Felicia Day tweet about playing it, and it's like God created game where you have a tiny little village, and then the winter comes and you have to make sure everyone's got nice little winter coats or else they all die. So yeah, I think maybe there is something with me about playing God in games that actually I need to unpack a little bit more now you've said that.
I didn't think it would be sort of a deep answer I'd be looking for.
You've sort of opened Pandora's box there, and I'm like, do I have a control issue? But I just, the fact that we could do that in video games, I wonder if there is something deeper there. And I would actually maybe love to talk to other people about that who do play The Sims and other RTS simulators about if there is the promotion of like controlling something, especially when it comes to The Sims and having a perfect life and a perfect house and children who are getting A's at school and you're top of your career, but you're also really fit and you're wearing your favorite clothes. Like maybe there is something fundamentally desirable about sort of projecting what you want and what is successful in a video game that, you know, if you play Halo, for example, you are just Master Chief. You play through Master Chief's story and that's it. End of the day, roll credits. But The Sims is what you make of it. It's very powerful.
What other games would you play that sort of fall up along those sort of sim strategy sort of lines, basically, like The Sims or Civilization?
So I've mentioned Banish is a very good example of this. I'm not too sure if it even fits into the Sims category, but stuff like Age of Empires, I remember playing with my dad a lot when I was younger. We had, this was back in the day with me and my sister with a little egg timer. I was allowed to go on the computer longer if I was with my dad, who is a gamer but wouldn't call himself one, because mostly nowadays he likes to play Call of Duty campaigns. He doesn't do multiplayer or like Football Manager type stuff. But we used to play Age of Empires and Command & Conquer together. So yeah, I'm really going down a tunnel here, Johnny. I won't lie to you. I'm struggling to think of games that fit into that simulation category, because I'm like, how many of these are there? I feel like opening up Steam and seeing how many I've actually got going. Right, let's go down this roller coaster. How many have we got?
She has actually opened up Steam.
I have
for anyone
opened
who hasn't
Steam.
watching the video version. Well, there is no video version. I can watch it.
So
But
we've got
anyway.
Age of Empires is on here. Banished is on here. To some degree, Binding of Isaac, does that fit into it? Because obviously you're building Isaac as the character you want and choosing where to run him around. Calico is a game I've just downloaded that I really want to play, where you sort of have your own little cute bakery and then you can run around and you can make friends and adopt cats and make the bakery look nicer. So that one's on there. City Skylines, I have to mention City Skylines, though I'm terrible at getting rid of all of the shite and the crap in a city, so normally I end up just polluting and killing everyone. There's all the Command & Conquers there, Red Alert 2 being the best one. Cooking Simulator, classic. I think there's a thing with me with simulators, you know. I just never thought about it. Dream Daddy Dating Simulator, there we go. Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very tells a lot about someone when they have that.
Very nice, isn't it? Yes.
What about the more recent XCOM games as well? Because that would fall in line with that.
See, now I have had XCOM, specifically the second one, recommended to me so many times, and I've never played it. And I don't know if that's... I don't know if it's at a point now where I just have so many games to play, overwhelming stacks of games to play, that I've just, never done that. But what I have played in the past year, thanks to, Xbox Game Pass and all that coming out, is I'm not particularly familiar with the Gears of War franchise, just because sort of aesthetically when I was younger, I didn't play it very much. It was very brutish, kicking down doors, and it didn't really gel with me. It's not a critique of the game. I'm fully aware that the game is absolutely superb. It's just not for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
However, in the past year, I did get to play Gears Tactics, which I'm told is like a spit, pretty much, of XCOM, and that game's fucking brilliant. That is very, very fun, especially when you add in the sort of grisly fatalities you can do when you go up to people with like a hammer burst rifle. You can just like shotgun through a dude and rip them apart. But yeah, that also leads into I just love things that are really violent and gory. So The Sims.
That sort of says a lot right there as well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like Valentine's Day that we literally just have. Me and my other half, we didn't watch a romantic movie. We watched Seven because I love Seven. Just definitely infinitely more into violence and gore than I am.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
And then you find out it's not Gwyneth Paltrow, it's Tom York. That might go over some people's heads.
Right.
You might want to watch Radiohead's 15-step video. It'll make sense.
Oh, there you go. Pause the podcast here. Go watch that. Come back, and we'll just carry on talking about it. Okay.
Okay. No,
What about you though? Do you have like an affinity with God style games and RTS and stuff like that?
I wouldn't necessarily say I would be sort of I wouldn't say RTS and some stuff wouldn't be my pick up a lot. Like say for example, I am fucking awful at City Skylines and SimCity.
Yeah,
Awful.
fair dues. Yeah.
But strategy games, I also have to sort of pick and choose my battles with, because like there are certain things and eras that appeal to me. Like say for example, the Civilization games, they appeal to me in the core aspect of what they do, but the historical aspects of it, it's just not for me. But here's
So
the
like
thing.
Age of Empires and stuff as well. That's too historical. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, too historical for me.
Fair enough.
Whereas Civilization Beyond Earth, I have had
There you
that
go.
on my PC, and I've been. I keep saying to myself, right, you know how you should start an RTS? You should start that, because it's futuristic, it's Civilization. Fucking go for it.
Have you
And
heard
I've
of
still yet to play
Frostpunk? You might quite like Frostpunk.
Frostpunk, I know of, but I've not played it. No.
Should have a look. It's on Game Pass as well. I'm sorry. I'm working here. I'm awful. I'm so sorry. I can't help it. It's one of the perks of the job is that I have a product that I love talking about, and I feel like I talk about it so much in my day-to-day life because it feels really good to just genuinely believe in something that you work with, and for me, that's Game Pass. I just think it's great.
No, I mean, like, there's your disclosure one, but also two, she's also somewhat right. Game Pass is the shit. It is the
Hell
best. It's
yeah.
the best thing. So, like, I mean, we're not sponsoring him. We're
No.
not sponsored by Xbox, but
I may
she's
work
right.
for him. I can also tell him things that are crap about Xbox, but I'm here today to tell you I'm taking over this podcast to turn it into what's your favorite? Johnny, you're my first guest. What's your favorite Xbox Game Pass game? Go.
Okay, there's too many games.
There's too many to choose from. And that's before we even go, well, are we talking console or PC or Android and mobile? What are we talking about here? There is so much that you can do. Did you know that all of Destiny is just fucking on there? Like, that alone is significant. Christ.
Okay, I have one pick. It's not necessarily my favorite, but I'll say this.
Go on.
Control.
Right, I haven't played Control, but I very recently bought the Ultimate Edition so I can have the enhancements, and I'm holding off playing it because I heard that it didn't launch particularly well, and I want to make sure that it's fixed before I dive in and experience it for the first time.
Mate. Play
Yeah.
Alan Wake first and then play Control. I cannot emphasize that enough.
I played Alan Wake when it came out, and I just thought it was so weird. I'm sorry. We can end this here if you want. I just didn't understand why I was
Thanks for listening
doomed
to this episode of My
torch.
Favorite Game. Next week...
Next week, we burn Charley alive at the stake.
Yes, we burned Charley alive at the stake.
I don't know. Like, the premise and everything is there, but I don't know. I think it might be the fact that there wasn't too much combat, and I don't know why that would change things, because there are games that I love that don't have combat in, but there was something about Alan Wake that just didn't click with me, though I am aware that there is a lot of crossover between both Control and Alan because of Remedy that, you know, sort of only serves to amplify how good both of the games are. Sorry. I'm so please forgive me.
There is a part of me that just legitimately wants to put her to the stake now as a result. Because, like, Alan Wake is amazing, and Control is amazing.
It would have been better if I just said I hadn't played it, right? I shouldn't have been that honest with you.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm
And
sorry.
now that we are talking to Remedy, here I am lamenting that Sam Lake interview I did last year that never got publicized, damn it.
Oh, no.
You can read all about it in Play Dice, I guess. Anyway. We digress.
We do.
We digress massively. Besides the point of saying, yeah, I really should play Civilization Beyond Earth, and yeah, XCOM and XCOM 2 are amazing RTS games. let's jump back into The Sims, shall we?
Can do. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do that. So we've mentioned sort of how what you've created and all that there, but like at the forefront of it, like what would you say has been the sort of how we sort of described as what would be your concept of playing on God in terms of The Sims itself? What would be your sort of what type of creator were you in terms of the sort of were you interested, like we're obviously mentioning about the True Blood stuff and making the diner and stuff like that there, but like were you also interested more in say creating stories, creating all aspects of the world basically?
That's a really good question, and I'm able to answer this now more recently that I've been aware, as I say, thanks to watching other people stream and make content on The Sims. There is actually a huge amount, or like a specialist degree that you can have with The Sims. Of some people who will literally just spend hours building properties or recreating properties, and then never building a single sim to go in it and playing with them. There are some people who will role play. There are some people who will try to do like generations or like legendary stories where you start off with a grandma and you raise all of this and it's like blah, 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 and they just come up with this big grand concept. And it has actually made me recently think about what I am as a Sims player, not so much as a creator, because obviously the only content I make is my main character fucking as many men as possible. If that's content, I'm still unsure. But for me, I think what I was up until doing this on stream was, I don't know, I sort of like replicating myself and my interests. So as I said, I have a version of The Sims I check in from time to time where I've recreated the house I am in to whatever detail I can get it to, and I have me, my other half, my daughter, and my cat in it. In the past, I've made relationships, as I said. When I was really into True Blood, I just wanted to role play the True Blood characters. But for some reason, I just really wanted, I think I most recently got the restaurant. I think it's called like Eating, I don't know. Eat Out to Help Out. Let's just call it that. I got that expansion and I really wanted a reason to play that. And so I thought, well, True Blood has loads of characters, so I'll just make them go do that. So I think there's just something for me in like putting something from my reality into the game and playing it that way. And again, I don't want to get all meta and unpick it, but there is something quite interesting because there's, out of all the content creators I've seen, I haven't made that style of content, or at least I've not seen someone do that type of content creation. I don't know if it's because it's too personal to share online, but that's also, I guess that's just what I saw The Sims was. It was just a really personal connection where I can maybe unpack things about myself or fantasize about relationships and children and jobs. Because when I started playing The Sims when I was younger, I don't really know what I was going to do. I wanted to be a vet at some point, and then I wanted to be a video game journalist, and then I wanted to be a teacher. And I think I felt of sort of unease throughout my life about where I was and what I was doing. In fact, you won't be able to see this because this isn't a visual podcast, but the first tattoo I ever got is this one along my collarbone, which is Elvish. It's Tengwa Elvish to be specific, and it says, "Not all those who wander are lost." Lord of the Rings being my favourite thing in the entire world, and I've always felt that stuck with me because even though I didn't know what I was doing or where I was going, I knew I'd figure it out in the end. And there's something that is so applicable from that sentence that applies to The Sims, of that you can just put a family in a house and you have no idea what's going to happen to them, but they'll get there in the end. And one of the things I never did in The Sims for some reason is I would never play a character until they hit an elder or they were old people. I would just get bored and move on to something else because I'd already achieved sort of the pinnacle of what I wanted for that family, and then I'd leave and start another one. It's really dark, isn't it?
It is a bit dark.
Yeah.
When you put it like that.
This is therapy, isn't it? Johnny, you have concealed this. What have you done here?
I am not a licensed therapist, but fuck it, I demand payment.
Has any of the other guests done this? Am I okay? Am I just looking to someone to talk to? Have I been inside too long?
I think at this point, if we're using this as a therapy session, I'm demanding payment after we're done here.
I think I owe you payment after this.
Jesus Christ, the amount of trauma that you are putting on me.
It's traumatic
to me.
I'm sorry, I just love True Blood so much. It's a horrible thing, I know. Though, fun fact, the end of True Blood is garbage. It's truly awful. They ruined the show. Fully fucked it.
Well, at least No, I don't. I can't quite compare True Blood to the end Scrubs because then
I never watched Scrubs. It didn't work for me. So my other half hates me for that because he loves Scrubs, but wasn't for me.
we are learning so much about Charlie tonight, and we are learning.
And I think all of them are negative as well.
a lot of them, all of them are negative.
I'm just an awful person. Oh, God. I've got some apologies to send off after this goes live, I think.
Dear me. You will be invoiced by the time we are done here.
No worries. I've got the bank account ready. You tell me how much you need for this in damages.
It'll be at least low hundreds.
Sorted, mate. Sorted.
I mean, like, if you want to pay me more, by all means do it.
Right, you're robbing me now.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's what you deserve. No, I'm joking.
Right.
No, I'm joking. So, you mentioned the expansions.
Yes.
Favorite ones, what would they be?
Oh, dang. Okay. Let me have a think about this for a second. I probably should have done some research beforehand, so I could have spoke about this. Let me have a think. I think some of the recent ones in Sims 4 have been really interesting. I quite like Strangerville. Some of the more recent ones that they've added to the Sims 4 have come with some sort of story and a campaign, which is new to me as a Sims player, because, you know, the whole idea is that in Minecraft is you go in, you make your own story, and then that's it, and you're rewarded for exploring different elements of the game. So Strangerville, I had a really fun time doing the campaign for that. I also really liked doing another one of the Sims 4 one, which is Eco Lifestyle, because there's something about being I felt like that changed fundamentally how I played The Sims more than any other expansion, because I had to think about, like, am I using too much water? If I'm in a certain neighborhood, it's more sort of foggy and gross outside, so my characters can get iller. Am I recycling things? And obviously I can choose to live somewhere where none of that's applicable, and I can completely ignore the eco lifestyle. What's his name? Knox, who knocks on my door every single time and he's like, I got some fucking recycling for you. I can just ignore him completely. But I thought that was a really good pack of actually just getting into the game and completely changing things about it and making you think about what impact your Sims were having on the world. So I just thought that was quite nice seeing, especially with that there's a lot of young players playing that game. I think I'm a crooked old beast. If my daughter plays that game and it makes her think about water usage and recycling things, and maybe not dumpster diving, as that is an element of that franchise, then, I mean, that's only a good thing, surely.
Saying that, you're not much older than me, are you?
I'm 30 this year.
Oh, fuck. I'm actually slightly older than you. Okay, not too bad.
I feel decrepit, if that helps. I might not look it on the outside, but I feel decrepit.
Okay, that's fair enough. Here's a fun realization that I've just realized on in the, hour or so that we've been talking about The Sims.
No. Don't say you've never played it, or I'm going to jump through this webcam and throttle you.
No, I've played it.
Thank God. Okay, I take back my threat. What is it?
she was serious too.
I was.
You can't see it.
Yeah.
She was serious.
Actually rubbing my hands.
We've been talking about The Sims, but the truth is, the realization that sort of realized upon me is that it feels like we've been talking about The Sims as a series, not as an individual game.
Got you there, didn't I, mate?
Jordan Erica Weber has been vindicated at last.
I got all up in your system. I said, fuck it, I'm answering with 5 games. But you're going to think it's one of them until I open my trap and the recording is going. I win.
The reason I sort of realized this is actually, I didn't just realize it, because I realized about 12 hours ago, before we started recording.
Yeah.
I realized, wait, I didn't ask what specific games she was going to talk about. Fuck!
Mm-hmm.
And also, that leads me to my next question of sorts, in that you do view this, not necessarily you as in just you, Charlie, but like there are people who sort of view the series as one big game with the sort of numbered installments as the big expansions
Like
in a way.
FIFA, for example, it's literally the same game, but every season you get a new update. It looks slightly better. You got new fucking outfits in it, and then the bloke who kicks the ball's got a different name. I don't know football, but that's FIFA is pretty much the same, right?
Well, I mean, like FIFA is basically content updates every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, is that not what The Sims is? Constant content updates, and then every so often you'll get like a new overlay redesign, and you have to buy it all over again.
This is sort of how now that I'm sort of ruminated on it, like
It's the
how
same
the
game.
Sims is. It's this one big constant game,
Yeah.
and then you have the new numbered sort of installments. They basically act as like sort of big expansions, like you would for an MMO, like Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft, and then the expansions in themselves are sort of smaller content packs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, take World of Warcraft as a fantastic example. Yes, it's been one game, and once you own the base game, that's it. But if you look at how the game looked many, many years ago, they have had updates and content and DLCs added that now the game looks completely different and there are new areas. So whilst there's still one base pack, there have been new additions. It's just with The Sims, they've added a new number on the end and gone, right, in this one, for example, I think it was 3 or 4 when it launched, you couldn't have any toddlers or something like that. They have since gone back and changed that, but along the way, the numbers have meant a marked increase or a change in like the heads-up display or certain emotions and sentiments that they can have now in the newer series that didn't exist back in the day. They basically just built on it. But it's the same game. Exactly the same.
So when you do put it like that, it is pretty much FIFA.
It is, yeah. It's you can't say the same for stuff like Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty because that is different for every single game. But FIFA is it's football, but slightly better every year. The Sims is The Sims, but slightly better with every new release. They're just patching updates and calling it a new game.
Fair enough. I mean,
Yeah.
fair
Got
enough.
you there, EA, haven't I?
You got me there, anyway. All seriousness, funny stuff aside for a second. Let's go back to that EGX panel a year and a
Yes.
half ago. It's amazing how. So, just to touch back on something that you said, like The Sims was basically a personal outlet for you in terms of your relationships, your jobs, and more importantly, your sexuality as well. To sort of explore that. And it was a very popular answer among everyone on the panel, basically, if not the majority of the panel, because like it was basically that first place of sort of
The sort of catalyst, I think, for
Yeah,
like experimenting.
Exactly, it was a catalyst in a way. It's amazing that we sort of describe The Sims in that way, but the truth is, it wasn't just sort of an answer for 3 or 4 or 5 people on that stage at the Excel Center like a year and a half ago. It's an answer for a whole lot of people as well, because like The Sims was basically a queer awakening for a lot of people as well.
I think it's because, like, if you talk about Tell Me Why, for example, and there is a concept of queerness and the trans experience that is fluent throughout that game and was very incredibly well considered between GLAD and Don't Nod when they conceptualized and made the game and put it together. However, I think you would be hard-pressed to find an individual who describes The Sims as a queer game. Nobody would. It's a game about life. And in that game, as in real life, you can choose to be queer. And in the more recent updates of The Sims, in Sims 4 specifically, I'm not sure if it had it in previous ones, you can choose to have male Sims with a high-pitched feminine voice who maybe sit down to go to the toilet and can be pregnant. You can literally tailor your experience and have yourself visualized in this game in ways that no other game does without it being labeled as a queer game. And I think that means that so many people, like I said, when I was playing it back then, I thought literally nothing of it. I didn't do this. I didn't make 2 girls kiss in The Sims and go, fuck yeah, I'm gay. I didn't think anything about it. I say it now because fuck yeah, I'm gay. But The Sims was just a case of like normalizing it and just letting you experience that stuff for yourself. I would imagine if you are an incredibly heterosexual person, you would never think of getting a man and a man to kiss or a female and a female to kiss. And that game doesn't tell you need to do that as part of a DLC to learn about queerness. There's just no barrier. If you want to do it, you just can.
And that's an interesting way to sort of put it, because as well, like Well, my sort of queerness when it comes to sort of exploring my queer side, because like I wasn't really out as queer at the time, as bi then I guess, but my idea is queer. But like I didn't really sort of have a sort of experience in that way in terms of The Sims. Like a sort of my queer awakening was like I met me and Ed on that panel mentioned Metal Gear Solid 2, with Vamp being bi, and I mentioned my favorite queer moment in the game being 2B and Near Automata, but I think a whole lot of that as well. Like I've not really talked a whole lot about this, although I think I might later in this season because. Spoiler, there's going to be an episode on the series later down the line.
Ooh, tune in.
Oh, fuck it, I'll just say it.
Ooh.
Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
First off, we finally have a Mass Effect episode at last, but that's for a few weeks' time. Secondly, my shepherd was FemShep. And I love FemShep. I adore FemShep. I will go to bat for FemShep. That's not to say male shepherd isn't bad or is all that. Mark Meir is a terrific actor. Male Shep is great, but there's a massive affinity for FemShep. I love Jennifer Hale. I love the work that she's done on other games as well, especially Metal Gear Solid 2. But FemShep for me, and I'm very lucky that I got the interview here like several years ago for Eurogamer. But for me, FemShep, I was playing as FemShep across the entire Mass Effect trilogy, and my FemShep was basically bi, in that she was just basically playing the field, basically.
Love it. It's my kind of gal.
Like, yeah, like that's who she is. But I sort of wanted to sort of put that on my FemShep because it was the only way I could sort of, at the time, explore my sexuality. So, yeah, I guess what my point is that The Sims, I didn't really have that experience with The Sims in terms of, being able to do, like, if you wanted to do something, just do it. I couldn't really do that. But at least with Mass Effect, I found that sort of ability to explore my queerness to an extent with my FemShep. And as a result of that, I think games have now become a more powerful outlet to explore a person's queerness, whether that is, from something like Mass Effect, The Last of Us, Tell Me Why, to, fully, sort of going, whether that's being projected onto them or they're projecting onto a created character, to something like The Sims where you're just basically able to go and do as you please, basically. And
it's a sexuality sandbox, is The Sims. That's it. That's the game.
If you ever go to work at EA, please use that on the box for The Sims 5 or The Sims 6 or something.
It's done. And the fact I've said that out loud means it's trademarked and it's copyright. And so they have to come to me now, if anything.
Pay the royalties.
Exactly, yeah.
But I guess what I was trying to sort of go for is that games have now become a lot more of a powerful outlet now, especially for, sort of exploring queerness.
Yeah.
And
I think it's interesting that the two examples we align to here being The Sims and Mass Effect, these are slightly older games where it was more sort of, maybe less so with The Sims because it was just, the game was about so much more than you could just be a woman and you could get married to a woman. But take, for example, Mass Effect 2, the fact that you could have a character that, as you say, played for both teams and threw herself around a little bit, that was an interesting, exciting thing because the game just sort of let you make that decision. And I think you have the same thing in Saints Row 3 as well. I believe you can also make your own path of who you want to be with. But nowadays, I think those games maybe, for lack of a better word, have paved a way where we can just have queer, like full stop, underline, bold, italic characters that are unquestionably gay, and it's not about how you have made them gay. That is just who they are, and it is acceptable. And we write these characters now, and they are at the forefront of games because there is an interest in this. And yeah, like I'm saying, it's not like The Sims where you make that; it just is nowadays, which is wonderful.
On that note, I am actually going to point out Charley has done a fantastic video for Xbox On like several years ago that explores some of the best queer characters in games and like I will link to it on playedhours.com when this goes live because it is definitely worth checking out. But it is
Me and my girl Leah just out there. Two proud gay women just talking about gayness on with an Xbox logo behind us, and it felt really lovely to do that. I fought really hard to make that video happen and didn't hit any barriers along the way, which is always lovely.
Like it is genuinely an amazing video. I keep saying that to you every time we talk. You did make an amazing video, and like it's.
And we got to put all of our own research into this. So all the games we brought to the table are games that meant something to both me and Leah. We wrote the script. We got it approved to make sure the messaging overall was fine. We then went and filmed it and chose all the footage to go in it. So, yeah, that video comes from the heart. It's a shame that some comments on it are shit, sure, but the video is not for those fucking idiots. It's for people who subscribe to Xbox and just want to see Xbox supporting who they are and seeing that that is an okay thing to be in this space without having to play games like The Sims where maybe you're tucking your sexuality away and doing all your little naughty things in the corner. Like, that's what we need more of, is less sort of slack division from brands, but showing off that actually you're here, you're queer, and we fucking love it, and you're welcome here.
Can I just point out one more thing on this note? Like while we record, like at the time of record, it's been a few days since the technical director of the coalition came out as trans, and what I loved about that is just how, dickheads aside, there was an immense support across the board from everyone in the industry, including Phil Spencer.
I found out from Phil. I saw his quote retweet supporting her, and I went on and I had to send my love as well. Like, this is amazing. Congrats. The bravery in order to just authentically say who you are, especially when you're such a staple person, and to not feel like you have to keep that back. And again, I'll reiterate, in an industry where there are some cement heads, yeah, just love it. Amazing.
I love how you just basically said cement heads.
But they are. Like, I'm past the point of caring or protecting individuals who just don't care anymore. You are either an ally, you're either a straight ally, and if you are not a straight ally, you are homophobic. Like, full stop. That's it. End of the line. It's 2021. We ain't taken any more niceties anymore. Like, that's it. Just get out. I'm sorry. No. It's very blunt, but that's just the way I feel about it. And like, there's a window of opportunity to educate someone and talk to them, or maybe not even educating, but just letting them know, like, there's a chance you came from a conversation or a lifestyle or a background in which you didn't have access to this information, or you never saw queer people and learnt about those experiences. I know when growing up, I didn't either. But I then took it upon myself to figure out the world outside of my perspective. So whenever I encountered people that were different to me, who were a minority or marginalised, I could at least understand where they can come from, and I could reflect that in my language and how I spoke to them and how I shared information about them with other people. And some people are just ignorant or stupid because they don't have those lessons. So I think the first step is understanding, are you open to a conversation, to learning? And if they're not, get the fuck out, because clearly you don't want to know and you don't want to change your backwards thinking. So that's how I'm approaching this year going forward anyway, Johnny.
That is a good, healthy way to approach things. That honestly is. It really is. And also, if nothing else, I have learned two amazing terms from recording this season of my favorite game. The first being sort of pandemic okay from Fernando Rizzo of Modern Wolf, and now the second being Cementhead.
Cement head, by the way, being the perfect description for gamers. That's it. They're just being cement heads.
That's a Charleyy Hodson trademark.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I know. Oh fuck! I just realized now. Basically, any money she has to pay me for this therapy session, I'll basically have to pay back now for royalties.
Yeah, we'll just call it even Stevens. You just get this podcast out there and let the people know, and then we're even.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. It sort of ties itself together.
Exactly.
So, what do you like about The Sims that we've not discussed tonight?
I don't really know. I feel like we've covered a lot of the bases, but I think it's worth reiterating. Maybe take the sexuality part off this next bit of conversation because we've had that, but the sandbox element to it is. I would say my favourite part. I just feel like you can go in and, bar some limitations of what's actually featured in the game or not, you can just make a character you like. You can make a story. You can be happy. You can be sad. You can be wild and do some crazy stories. You can live by yourself and have a million cats and just want to be an author. And I just feel like there's unlimited potential there to create a fantasy or create a reality that you want. And for me, at least, and if there's anyone who listens to this and can think of other games that give you that unparalleled access to being gods, please let me know, because The Sims just ticks every box for me. Whatever mood I want to play The Sims in, I know I can open it up, create a character, and go do it. And The Sims is just excellent for that.
Again, Charley has a control problem.
Yes,
We're finding
I have.
that out here.
God.
She has a god complex issue.
Yeah, I do, and it suits me fine, honey.
I like that you are embracing it at least.
Yes, exactly. Let's not shy away from it.
I appreciate that. I respect that.
Thank
I really
you.
do. What don't you like about Sims?
What don't I like about The Sims? Aside from, like I said, some quality of life stuff, and it being a bit buggy and glitchy sometimes, and characters won't do things you want them to do. What I would really, really like them to do in the next update or the next DLC, and they are working on this, and I am an authentic voice on this because it's a shame to see it, but this would be a lot more powerful and integral coming from someone who it reflected. But we need more representation in it in terms of skin colors and body sizes, for sure. You can make sort of like heavy set women, but you can't make authentic, larger bodies. There is a limitation to the sort of scale a human being can be. They've only very recently actually updated the array of skin tones you can have to actually represent black individuals and brown individuals. So that's something that is a critique of the game that's gone around the community for a very long time. And thankfully you can see some elements of that improving as it is. And fingers crossed 5 will do even better if that's ever on its way. But one thing for me is I would love for it to, I don't know, more jobs. I know it's really, really stupid, but I feel like we've been stuck in the same sort of nuclear family. You're a scientist, you're a policeman, you're a politician, you're a teacher sort of jobs. And I would love for it to grow. And I know you can be like, I think it's called like a Simsfluencer or something like that. And you can be famous on Simstagram or whatever. But I don't know, I'd like to see more variety in jobs you can do, or maybe more things you can do with teenagers in the game. Teenagers are very crap. As soon as they've stopped being a kid, you're now just waiting for them to be a young adult, so you can basically just do other things with them. So yeah, I think some more thought on what it means to be a teenager in the game. These are all really, really small critiques of the game though. Just because it's just nice extra bits to have. They've sort of hit most of the other nails on the head for me.
It's funny how you mentioned teenagers are basically crap in that game, because basically teenagers become crap in real life anyway.
This is very true, and perhaps that's the reason why they've done it.
Maybe just to go back to what you said about Sims being a personal outlet for yourself, not to get too personal, but maybe you could sort of use that for experience for what comes in a few years' time with your own daughter.
Mate, she's already a teenager. She is, honestly, I know everyone says this about their kids, but she is the sassiest almost 9-year-old you've ever met. She knows exactly how to manipulate me and her father, truly. We have got trouble coming with that one, and I don't think The Sims are going to help me with it.
Oh, no.
I love her with all my heart, and I mean trouble only because she is too clever. She knows me and Luke, my other half, so well. She knows what to say to each of us to get what she wants, or to how to play the two of us against each other. And that only comes that way because she is a fiercely individual person who knows her own mind, and we've empowered her to be intellectual and creative. And it's just going to come back to bite us in the ass when we get a walking mini-me god complex around the house, I guess.
It is a generational thing, though.
Oh, bless her. She's great. She's really into Roblox at the moment. She absolutely adores Roblox. Yeah. I'm not going to played it myself, but maybe I should.
Okay. So it's been 20 plus years of The Sims. What would you say has been the influence of it? Obviously, we can sort of say that sort of sandbox sort of aspect of it, and sort of exploring aspects of yourself, like your queerness and stuff like that there, and sort of building a sort of imaginary life for yourself. But what do you think is the legacy of The Sims with that in mind?
It's an interesting one because as the human experience grows and what we do in our day-to-day realities improve, or we get additional things to think about, those would obviously all be amazing to see in future editions, so 5 if we ever get a 6. But surely there's just going to come a point where we've got everything in The Sims, so I'm really unsure what the legacy would be, and if it would just eventually turn into like a sort of... Ooh, maybe to go back to your previous question, I'm going to mix 2 questions together here about what I'd love to see. Maybe you turn it into like an MMO, a Sims MMO, World of Warcraft style, where actually you just have neighborhoods and houses and you can add friends and go to each other and like actually build relationships with people online. Like that would be a fucking... I don't know how it works. It sounds like it would be a logistical nightmare, but that would be amazing because I just don't know how many... Are we ever going to have Sims 7 or Sims 8? I don't bloody know, but if you make a central online Sims that maybe is global, I am building a whole game here. You could go live in New York or something like that, and then you can pay to move to London or something, and then you make friends. I don't know, but like that just sounds so nice. And actually turning you're having fun being social on a solo game and actually making it a little bit more like it's actually social with the rest of the world sounds pretty cool to me.
It's funny because you mentioned that Sims MMO, because like there was 2 games I always assumed would be MMOs: The Sims and Grand Theft Auto. And now we have one of them now with Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, mate, I mean, the Grand Theft Auto Online is a beast that's never going to get taken down. That thing is hugely impressive. However, that stays in the top 10 games purchased every single week since its release is just... It's a testimony to what they've done. I am done critiquing that game and saying that it's missing elements and it's not all that good on the online system. People clearly couldn't give a rat's ass because they just love it.
You can't see this, but I'm making the money gesture for Charlie. That's why. Money talks.
Totally.
Money! They call Pink Floyd. Money. Okay, so we sort of sat on this question earlier, but it's time to ask it. Top 3 Sims games ever.
Ooh, okay. In order or just top 3?
Top 3.
Top 3. And am I allowed to say, are you asking for expansion packs or specifically a game?
I would say specifically a game.
Okay, so I'm going to say, in my top 3, I'll organise these afterwards. Sims 2 Busting Out on the PlayStation.
Okay.
Sims 4. And I want to say either Sims 2 on PC or Sims 3. And the reason I'm unsure of either on those at the moment is I can't decipher which expansion packs sit for each version of the game. So I'd need to look into that a little bit more. So I'm going to say either I'm going to put 2-3 as my 3rd favourite one. Again, dependent on which ones the DLCs belong to. But it's whichever one is like get busy or like when you can like go to a job or have a restaurant or like university or something like that. It's that era I loved. My 2nd favourite one is going to be Sims Busting Out because of the 10 different houses you live in and the actual, you get quests and you have to get to certain stuff like parts in relationships with your mum, with your friends to make it up to the land grab mansion at the end. I just remember feeling really accomplished when I made it to that mansion. And then my top number 1 favourite is, I think it's really obvious to say, but it's Sims 4 because it's, as we were saying, in terms of the game just having content updates and quality life updates, it's just the most recent version of it. And whilst I have really good memories playing 1 and onwards, there are obviously things that I would not go back and play about them because they're really old and they're dated and probably the control system's a bit weird. So Sims 4 is just the most polished version of the game I love. So that would be my favourite.
You saying that they're all sort of, well, some of the games have slightly dated. There's a part of me that wants to grab my PS2 and find a copy of The Sims for the PS2 because that was the shit.
It was so good. I loved it so much. I went and played Herbs. And Herbs was shite.
Oh,
but it
sweet
was like,
child.
I know. Because I just wanted to have another version. I tried Herbs because I remember there being that really slender woman on the cover. I had massive knockers and a tiny waist. And like that big, it was like purple or pink hair or something. And I was just hypnotized by her. And I wanted to go play it. And I didn't get on with it so well. But I played the Herbs because of Sims 2 Busting Out.
Oh, same. It was that was basically the through line. The Sims being fantastic, The Sims 2 Busting Out being great,
yes.
And then the others are like, oh, oh my god, you're in this sort of modern environments,
Yeah.
sort of metropolis, New York-like area, and you've got the Black Eyed Peas as friends
Yes.
for whatever fucking reason,
I forgot about that, but yes.
and then just, you just sort of go into a fetal ball of how bad it is. You just go, hello.
Yeah,
darkness,
it
my
didn't. Everything about it was so promising, and I can't exactly remember why it had so many failures for me, but it just didn't quite tick the box. But maybe that's because the just Sims 2 busting out at that time was just exactly what I needed it to be, so it just didn't live up to expectation.
I guess, yeah, when you sort of have that Sims formula and it just sort of doesn't, it
Bless
was
them.
bad. There was blasphemous. Good way to put it. It was blasphemous. That's all you can say, really. Oh, what could have been?
What could have been? Anyway, do I get to talk about my honourable mentions now? Because I want to make sure I do talk about these other ones.
Yes, you can talk about your honorable mentions now.
Yes.
Do feel free to give as much context as you like, but like, for what it's worth, Charley has told me she has a ton of honorable mentions. A ton of them. So by all means, go for it.
Wild, because I've mentioned a couple of them have actually come up naturally in me talking about, my influences and where I've got to. Fable 2, for example, I'm not sure if I would call it my favourite game of all time, but hugely significant for me in terms of sort of it being, I've used this word a few times, but a catalyst for gaming and wanting to consume more games. Age of Empires 2, I played it so much with my dad. It sits in the same category as Command & Conquer Red Alert. And for me, it's just a really, really important series that I only have fond memories of. One of my favourite ones, and ones that I really, really struggled actually to decide whether it should be my number one, is Borderlands, because I've played every single edition of Borderlands. I will argue to heaven and hell that Handsome Jack is one of the best video game characters / villains ever to be made. Fucking love him, and I cannot wait for the movie. I really don't want them to let me down. I remember every character I've played in those games. I remember laughing through them. I've co-opted them all with my other half, who, outside of playing FIFA and cricket games, that's the one that he loves the most. So that's really important for me. And
Tales from the Borderlands is coming back as well.
Oh, stop it. I've been waiting years for Tales from the Borderlands, and when we knew 3 was coming along, I really wanted them to make sure they touched on the death. I won't say anything more than that, but the death that happened in the first series of Tales from the Borderlands, because it's such a canonical character that they needed to reflect it, and I think they did it really well. So just everything to do with Borderlands, I love. I just think it is truly superb. So yeah, that was another one of my options, but my last one is Forza Horizon 4. Which, as someone who has grown up her whole life playing racing games, I remember playing Colin McRae Rally, I remember playing Gran Turismo, all the Need for Speeds, by the way, Most Wanted and Carbon are the best two. Don't fight me, that's just the answer.
She's right, Carbon is fucking criminally underrated.
Yep, Carbon is the best one.
It is fucking
Underground 2 as well, actually, let's pop that on the list. Underground 2 is very good. So all of that sort of turned me into someone who... if you don't know that much about me outside of this podcast and what I've already said, another thing I do every month is I present the Forza Monthly and or Playground Monthly shows for them to talk about new updates coming to Forza Horizon 4 and so on and so forth. And I have to reiterate sometimes to people that, I know jack shit about cars. I couldn't tell you head from arse about a car. I truly could not. But my God, if I don't love racing games. And for me, Forza Horizon 4 is the pinnacle of it. I am not good at racing simulators like Forza Motorsport because I'm in it to have fun and sort of drive around a city, listen to a cool soundtrack, and the seriousness and the, albeit very impressive seriousness of motorsport isn't my kind of vibe. So therefore, Forza Horizon 4 and 3 just hit the nail on the head. Just insane amount of fun. I'm still playing it 2.5 years after release, consistently on my stream. There are still things I want to do and unlock, and I just think it's just perfect.
I am legitimately in love with that series because Forza Horizon 1 is such a perfect arcade racing game with an incredible soundtrack. Forza Horizon 2 was one of the games that got me through the worst time of my life when my mother died.
Oh, bless you.
And then Forza Horizon 3 and 4 are just stupendously brilliant games. Like, that's sort of why, one, Forza Horizon is so incredible because they're made by a team who cares in Playground Games.
Yeah.
And two, that is also why I am looking forward to Fable so much, because
They're masters. They know what they're doing.
it's Playground. Exactly. Like, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I know that from what they have done with Forza Horizon, it is going to be stupendously brilliant.
They're just going to do it. Yeah, they're just, they've smashed it. I feel like Fable is incredibly safe in their hands, and I'm ready to play it whenever they're ready for us to play it, because it will be correct.
It'll be correct.
It will be correct.
It's Playground doing it, and just because Fable's back, I guess.
I know. So exciting when I saw that trailer. But yeah, one final one I will mention, and then I will stop talking, because it's a bit of a divisive one in the sense that I've not played a lot of its sequel, which arguably people would say out of the two games is the best version and is game of the year, game of the century. But Red Dead Redemption 1 is one of my favourite games of all time. Not 2. Not played a lot of 2. It was almost too much Red Dead Redemption for me. Too realistic, too Sims. But Red Dead Redemption 1 is the only video game I have ever cried at. And I did everything in that game. I found every single bit of herb you could find. I killed every animal. I took on was saber-tooth tigers or something like that with knives because it was a hunter challenge. Everything about that game did it for me. And there was a stage in my life where I wanted to marry John Marston. Haven't we all?
I feel like we have sort of opposite opinions on Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
Because you love it so much, whereas I think that's not necessarily to say Red Dead Redemption's a bad game.
No, I mean, I have this opinion all the time, right? I'm going to say an opinion now that I've repeated on every video, every podcast I've ever been on, and if my other half can hear me, he'll be rolling his eyes. But I think it's really important for people to hear this, okay? And you can substitute in whatever you want, and it sounds like this might be Red Dead for you, okay? I think the Beatles are shit. I cannot stand the Beatles. Right, let me finish. Take that away. Let me finish. I do not like the Beatles. However, I know the Beatles are very, very good and are hugely influential, and it's important that the world has the Beatles, but it is not my taste of music. And I think for you, that's what Red Dead is. You know how important Red Dead Redemption is, and you cannot critique the game. It's just not for you. And it's fine to think that way. Me not liking the Beatles doesn't make them shit. It just means I don't like them.
No, that's fair enough. No, the reason I say that is because, I just sort of wanted to point out the contrast, because, you love Red Dead Redemption. It's not that I necessarily don't like Red Dead Redemption 1. It's just a bit overrated slightly. But I adore Red Dead Redemption 2. I love it more than Red Dead 1, frankly.
Interesting. Yeah, we're on completely separate planes. Don't get me wrong, I loved 2, but I'm not finished it. I think I left my character in New Orleans. I remember his name is Arthur, but I can't tell you his second name. I can't tell you
Arthur
any of...
Morgan.
That's the one. I can't tell you any of the group of bandits we were with, but Red Dead Redemption 1, Arthur, his kid, Armadillo, I remember that all so vibrantly. I think in the way that you mentioned a game came to you at a very, very important time and you needed it and it sort of healed you emotionally, That was Red Dead for me. Without going into too many details, that was a game that was just at the right time for me to lock everything else out, and that was on the TV, and that's what I did.
No, that's totally fair. I understand that. That's a good way to sort of describe it. Top 3 games ever. What would they be? Obviously,
Oh my
Sims
God.
were the top, but
Okay. Sims 4. Oh, Johnny, can I have 5 instead of 3?
I'll allow it.
Okay. Sims, Borderlands, but we'll go for Borderlands 2 here, maybe the pre-sequel, but 2. Forza Horizon 4, Red Dead Redemption 1, and World of Warcraft. But I played it specifically vanilla up till Cataclysm. I didn't do anything post that. So I didn't mess about with the pandas. Like if everyone wants to have a claim to fame, you could say you've met the only person, it's me by the way, who has fished every single coin out of the Dalaran fountain. That was me. I did that. So it's how much I love World of Warcraft. My other half, we've been together 10 years this year. We nearly split up after a couple months because I stopped going to dates so I could do my fishing dailies. And I had to go cold turkey on World of Warcraft at university because of him. Because otherwise I would lose him. So, yeah.
Oh,
World of Warcraft has to be up there.
Have you not played Classic at all yet?
Nope. I want to. I dabbled a little bit, but John, we could have a whole new episode on this. When I went back to Classic and tried to play it, and I did a little bit towards the end of the summer last year, I realised that my love and what I recall from World of Warcraft is the nostalgia, the friends I had at the time, hanging out on Ventrilo, laughing at 4chan memes. That was what I missed. And when I played the game, it was the grind to get back up to level whatever the fuck and sit in general chat with my friends. It wasn't there anymore because I wasn't a teenager skipping out on college because I was too depressed to get on the bus that day to go see people. And so I would spend all night, I would sit 14 hours at a time playing World of Warcraft with friends I'd made around the world. That's what I loved about World of Warcraft. So, yeah.
And that's a good way to sort of describe games as well. They've been a massive outlet, not just in terms of, stuff like sexuality, but like, mental health as well. So
Totally. It was just there for me. If I wanted to go fish all the coins out of Dalaran Fountain and just listen to music for hours on end and not think about anything, I could. And it was great. And World of Warcraft was the game I was thinking about for this, but it's a very difficult one to bring up because my experience on World of Warcraft is so limited to those few expansions that I played, and I know jack shit about the lore. Like Destiny, for Christ's sake, that could have been on my list, as I love Destiny. Couldn't tell you anything that's happening, but the gameplay is so fun and the friends I have on it. Shout out to Patrick Dane and George Morgan, who I play Destiny with every single week. Patrick is one of the nerdiest people I know when it comes to Destiny stuff, and
confirm
he hates that I don't know anything about the game, but I don't. There are very, very few games that go into my head, and the bigger the game, the larger the game, take your World of Warcraft or your Destiny, it just doesn't go in. And it's about the gameplay or the friends I have on them is the reason why I love them. And so when I revisited WoW, I didn't have the same crowd, I didn't have the same vibes of this is even funnier because it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and so the game was just a bit of a wah wah.
When you put it like that in terms of the lore knowledge, it's sort of one in, one out, basically.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes I will just pick up a quest and I will just wait for it to tell me what the thing is I need to do. I won't read the story or where I need to go or who fuck even the person is. Just right, and you need me to get some bear pelts? Okay, let's go. And then I'll come back and now I'm a different level and you want me to go over here? Okay, right, we're gonna go over here now. And then I'm gonna come back and be like, oh yay, now I could do a dungeon. Like that was World of Warcraft to me. So much about me.
We are learning so much about Charley as a person here. It's unbelievable. I am frankly surprised at how much Patrick is just sort of able to keep up with everything.
I know, he keeps me at bay. I think he plays Destiny with me so I don't have to upset any other actual Destiny players. I'm his like dirty little Destiny secret.
Jesus, anyways, that would be tricked up.
if you want to see my day job, if you are following Xbox UK or Ireland on any social media platform, that is my strategic brain behind it, either signing off tweet copy or coming up with memes or some of the larger scale stuff we do. So the stuff around the Series X and S launch that we did last year, I'm one of the many wonderful people behind that. If you want a bit of me, I'd like to be very, very consistent. Just search It's Charley, though. Charley spelled CharleyY on any platform and you will find me. I stream on Twitch 3 nights a week. There's one element of my personality that hasn't been present on this podcast, and that is the fact that I burp a lot. So if you want to see what that sounds like, 3 nights a week over on Twitch. Otherwise, I have Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, pretty much anything that anyone else has nowadays. I don't have a TikTok. I have a TikTok to follow people, but I'm yet to make a TikTok. That's a realm I'm not comfortable to step into just yet.
Oh God,
I love it. I just love it. It just makes me laugh. It's Vine, and I loved Vine, and I'm very nostalgic for Vine, and I don't know, TikTok scratches that for me.
You have no idea how many Vine compilations I've seen on TikTok.
But I was up till 2:00 last night watching them. Still to this day, just sat in my room by myself in my pajamas saying them all out loud. No one was in the room. I wasn't impressing anyone. I was just saying them.
Funny thing, there's an audio of driver's license going about, and I was just like, I didn't realize the mashup of it, like, and then I heard driving around my mum's car,
Boom, broom.
And I didn't realize that was from a Vine until I saw the Vine first.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Vine.
This is pretty much par for the course of this episode. We're basically ending with stupidity and TikTok, isn't it?
Hell yeah! Welcome to my world. Let's go. Do you want to know something else really fun? The reason why I'm called Charley with 2 Y's is because I realised during my MySpace era that if I put an extra letter on my name, my SEO ranking would be higher. My real name is Charlotte. No one calls me it, though. You can have that one for free.
That is a revelation.
I was a teenager when I branded myself with 2 Y's. So when I was eventually famous as I thought I was going to be, more people would find me easier. Truly.
I'm not going to lie, I was genuinely wondering about that, so now we know.
Yep, now you know. Just don't call me Charlotte, all right? Or else we will have to fight.
Thanks for coming on the show, Charlotte.
Right. I redact everything. I don't play video games. You can't air this episode now. I hate video games. I've lied about everything. I've been reading a script. None of this is true.
Everything is a lie now. She was basically hijacking the Xbox accounts now.
Yeah. I'd like to refer to my actual favourite game, Leisure Suit Larry. It's great. You should play it, everyone.
Thanks for listening to My Favorite Game, a podcast on PlayDiaries.com where people in the games industry come on to talk of their favorite game. If you want to listen to future episodes of My Favorite Game or press play before they go live publicly, please consider subscribing to our $2 tier on Patreon at patreon.com/playdiaries. Next week, Else White on Zero Escape 999. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. Until next week, bye-bye.